Well, good evening, Internets. It's me, DP Knudten, for another edition of Bookward Bound, my 301-day journey toward the completion and publishing, self-publishing, of a brand new book on or about January 1st, 2021. Now, the files themselves are definitely going to be up at Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing space by January 1st of the new year, but there's always some lag between the time you post the files and the time the book actually goes on sale on Amazon and you can access it. So typically it could be 2 weeks. It might even be 3 or 4, depending on how things are going. But that said, my finished files are going to be done by January 1st, 2021. Why? Because I'm working on them every single night in one form or another during these consecutive live streams. In fact, tonight is episode 203 of Bookward Bound. That means I've been down here for 203 consecutive days, with the exception of 2 where I was really, really sick. And I've been working on the book, writing, editing, designing, coming up with new concepts and outlines and stuff like that. You name it, I've always been doing something to advance the book forward. And every single episode, I change it up because, frankly, I can't do anything consistently because I'm such a gadfly when it comes to the way I like to do stuff. So every night I look at what I've done in the past and say to myself, what am I going to do tonight? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to Scrivener, which is the application I'm using to write the book. And it looks a little something like this. In this big main window, you can see this is the content where you're going to be, or the place you're going to be putting the content or actually writing the book. So you can see it kind of looks like a chapter or a section or something like that. Well, over here on this side, these are the actual chapters that have been written or need to be written. Now, I use a color coding system or a color flagging system that works something like this. If you see a green flag, it means that that whole section is done. It's been final proofed and everything. I'll definitely do a final proof later, but for now, don't worry about it. Blue means I've written that section, but it probably could use another look at editorially, so I'll definitely do that. Another one is red. A red flag is the worst flag because it means, dude, you know you want to write something about this thing, but you haven't written anything about it yet, so maybe you need to do that. And then yellow is down here, which means you've done some significant writing within this section, but it's not done yet. And frankly, that's what I'm going to work on tonight. I'm going to work on this section, which is right near the end of the book. It's called What's Your Flagship? And it's about enthralling. Why do they spell an enthralling podcast? I'm just looking at it's saying enthralling is spelled wrong, but it's not. And it's bugging me. But anyway, I'm going to finish this up, or at least add some more copy in this section tonight, with the goal of moving things forward, because time is running out. We're almost at the end of September, which means I definitely have October and November to finish writing the book in toto, because December is the month that I want to do all the formatting and all the proofing and all that stuff, the hard proofing where I can get an actual copy of the book from Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform and look at it as printed, because you can plan all you want on your computer. I guarantee you that the second they print it out, it's going to look different. You know, your margins may need some adjustment, maybe stuff that you thought was going to be, maybe the type is you think is going to be big enough, but then it looks really, really small or really, really big. A lot of those things are going to be needing adjustment, but you only really know when you get a physical copy of the book and you start paging through it and going, oh my God, this looks terrible. And you need to make changes and then upload new files and stuff like that. So that takes a while. And so I'm going to reserve all of December for that. But that just turns up the heat under my posterior for the rest of September, October, and November, because I got to get this thing written. And it's in pretty good shape. But I've got a lot of interviews for the Nonfiction Brand podcast that are going to be parts of it are going to be put into the book, and some of those interviews haven't been done yet. So I've got a little bit of an excuse there because I haven't done the interviews yet, but I need to stop having excuses and just get this thing done. So shut up and write. And that's what I'm going to do by going over to this section in Scrivener and write. And this is about what I call the content cascade. It's a concept that I learned from Jay Baer about starting with one thing and then letting that piece of content just roll downhill into your other social media channels in an effective way. So I left off down here saying basically it's a workflow that goes YouTube video to transcribe blog post to LinkedIn article to Facebook post to Instagram post to Twitter post and ending at Twitter post and to Twitter post. One piece of content with any number of downstream variations, re-edits, remixes, and cross-purpose posts to wherever your audience is. Don't get hung up on the specific apps involved, comma, because the social media landscape has the annoying habit of changing at the drop of a hat or IPO. Focus instead on the first principal mediums they serve at all. And the big point is to never lose sight of the fact that you can take advantage of the heavier lift work you do, e.g. long form video edit, 2,000 word blog post. Never lose sight of the fact that you can take advantage of the heavier lift work you do to create channel optimized sub-content that's perfectly attuned to the style of the social channel and its users' expectations. And the biggest never forget is that all of this can link its way back to your website where you can capture viewers' interest, where you can transfer for viewers, readers' interest away from the social channel they found it on and move it to your website, and ideally mailing list. Let's do this. Get rid of that and we'll do a new paragraph. The big point is never lose sight and way back to your website where you can transfer the viewer's, reader's interest away from the social channel they found your post on and move it to your website and ideally mailing list. Flagship. Suit your voice and style. Unless you're a true social gadfly, it's likely that you love one or two social channels put up with another or so, and absolutely hate one of them. That's totally understandable and directly totally your comfort or discomfort with any channel needs to be considered before designating one specific channel as your flagship. For me, it's my fiction brand podcast. For a bunch of really good reasons. Kind of including I enjoy not only the host performance part of the pod, but the actual involved with it too. The style of show I've developed is 100% in sync with the way my mind works and the amount of work I feel comfortable putting into it in order to fulfill my new episode every week promise. Interestingly enough, given that technically I've been a writer for close to 30 years, a similar promise I made to the writing and posting of weekly blog posts was never something I could keep for more than a couple of months. But a podcast that requires a lot more scheduling, editing, and promotion for some unknown reason, I find that completely doable. That's what I mean when I say you need to find your natural voice and the social stage that suits it to a T. 3 period. I really love its ability to allow me to contact people I find valuable, fascinating, and interesting. So, see if they'd like to appear on the podcast. %90+ of the time the answer is yes. yes. And by the end of the recording session, we've become friends. Lots of birds being taken out with that one podcast stone, for sure. Hosting podcast is say quite simply, hosting a podcast is easier for me and allows me to best demonstrate who I am, what I do, and how I do it in a way that still is a tad bit extraordinary. While podcasts continue to become more and more popular, they are still, but they still make up a fraction of the number of websites and blogs out there. A podcast is the near perfect venue for my voice, and consequently it's my flagship. Providing me with a boatload of content that I can use all over the social media universe. Including the old media, platforms. Platforms like this book. Have you noticed how many extended quotes with contained herein came directly from the transcripts of non-fiction brand podcast episodes. Coincidence? Heck no. Hell no. Hell no. It's strategy. It's no. Yeah. Coincidence? No way. You kidding? It's all strategy. Okay, so that's 946. 946 words. Hold on, I'm going to give a little space to these bad boys. Take out some of the leading. Are you kidding? Coincidence? No. Coincidence? No. No. Period. No. Long dash. Strategy. All right, so that's the end of that section, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a blue flag for, it needs to be proofread, it needs to be styled, it needs to be messed with a little bit. But for now, I think it's in good shape. So I'm going to leave it alone. At 942 words, 300 words a page in general, 942 plus the graphic that's in there. That's going to be a pretty sizable graphic. So let's say it takes up a third of a page, something like that. I'm looking at 4 pages of content here, I think. So that's good. Because again, I want this book to be about 250 pages, somewhere around there. I'm going to do a quick word count because Scrivener will give me right now, it's going to do a quick look at the entire book and give me a word count down here at the bottom. It tells me it's 56,161 words, and it can tell you more stuff about that. It's funny, my sentence length is always averaging about 15 words a sentence. Reading time, 3 hours and 44 minutes. Etc. So I think I want to put a long dash there, brand. You already are. I think that's it for tonight. Yep. So good. Spend some time down here. Let's see, how much time have I been on? Close to 30 minutes, which is right on time. If I do about 30 minutes a day, I'm going to be able to write maybe around 500 words or do some cleanup and stuff like that. So I continue to add to the book, getting it toward that 500-page goal. And it's actually working out pretty well. So I'm feeling good about it. So it's time for me to say goodbye because it's a Friday night and I'm tired and I want to get some sleep. So that's it for me tonight. But don't worry, I will be back here tomorrow because I've only got 98 days, or today was 98 days to go. Tomorrow is 97 days to go in this journey to create a brand new book. So I got to keep doing that. And the only way I can do that is come down here and work on it. And because of you, the peer pressure, you're giving me a lot of peer pressure. You're making me do this. For that, I say thank you very much, because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be doing this the way I am. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand podcast. I'll be editing a brand new episode of it tomorrow featuring Don Stanley, who's a friend of mine. He's an instructor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in the Life Sciences Communication Department. And we talked about Stoic philosophers, the Japanese philosophy of Bushido, the Book of Five Rings, how he's using jiu-jitsu to recenter himself as a human being and also apply that to his nonfiction brand foundation to become more of an authentic, true to himself, true to everyone else individual. Fascinating guy, fun interview. That'll be coming out Monday, so look for the Nonfiction Brand podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Places like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. It just went up on Apple Music. Did you know Apple Music now is podcasts? Yes, it does. And Stitcher, and just about any place you get your podcasts for free. So check it out. And new episodes every single Monday. And that's it for me tonight. I will see you tomorrow. But until then, theme music, take us on out. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.